University.
The journey started in Livingstone.
Yes.
Brian has been to Mombasa. Now he's in Harare. And the exploration starts.
Okay.
Where does the journey take us next?
No, before we get into that, I'd really like to say that the arrival here of Brian Spears, really for the National Peace Trust, for Midrand State University, for the co-patrons, is the first step to what we have been building for the past 5 years. So to Brian Spears, I'd like to say thank you very much that he really did make the journey here. I hadn't heard from him for just 12 hours, and I started to think now, he's been told not to come. And I was really worried after all the preparations everybody made. And finally, today, he started writing again, and it was really good. But I'd also now, second point, like to thank our co-patron, His Excellency, who, when we put the idea to him that we were inviting the president of the Commonwealth Lawyers Association to visit through the co-patron's window, through the National Peace Trust, the civil society wing of that, he was very enthusiastic. He could have said to us, there's a lot of disorder, don't let him come. He just said, that's fine. So to him, I'd like to say thank you very much, co-patron. He's here, the program is on set, and it's very good. But before we even talk about Brian being here, I'd really like to thank Genevieve Woods, my niece-in-law from Australia. I've known her since she was born. Her dad, her grandfather is my husband's godfather. And they really were parents to my husband and I. It's to them that the Woods family, the Carrick family, that I'd like to say thank you very much. That the family relationship has been so solid that it has taken us to the heights where the principles and values, my parents, the parents of the generation of my parents, that generation and the generation of the Carricks, the Hollands, the Russells, we are the product. They built into us those principles and values which we have lived by and which we hope the next generations take, because I now have great-grandchildren. So to the Woods, the Carricks, the Hollands, the Russells, thank you very much. I really appreciate the support you've given me after bringing your relative, my husband, back to Africa, because it's him who wants to come here, remember, not me. So where do we go from here? I'd like to think that the Vice-Chancellor who is there in place, Victor Mziziwa, a war veteran from ZIPRA, his vision when he, this year and last year, sat down to explain what he wished the co-patrons to do to the university, I just knew that Zimbabwe would be fine. And what we need to do, all of us, is to keep our heads focused on how we bring our people together to understand that all the problems we have, we are also responsible for how they are reported abroad, because they do not reflect the reality that is happening here. The enormous talent Zimbabweans have, the enormous progress that has been made by successive authorities that came to this country, and that we blind ourselves from understanding the opportunities that exist in Zimbabwe for everybody to come together and move forward. So, to the Vice-Chancellor, Victor Mziziwa, Professor Victor Mziziwa, I think it's a big, big, big honor to us in the National Peace Trust that he has invited us now to come and partner with what the co-patrons are doing is another building block, which will be buttressed by the Commonwealth Lawyers Association. I must say, even when we were in Livingstone, when he was presenting his session, Brian Spears invited me to share his platform with me. And as he talked about what he does, it was very clear to me that he held some cards for MSU through the co-patrons window for the 100 graduates of the Peace Studies Department, which was a baby of the Organ for National Healing, Reconciliation and Integration during the inclusive government, which they're now going to turn into the Joshua Mkabugo Peace, Governance and the Leadership Institute. Big step forward. That now Brian in Livingstone seems the ideal person to sit down with Professor Mzidziwa and come up with a postgraduate diploma in peace, something, whatever they'll say, so that at every point at the grassroots level, there is a graduate with a postgraduate diploma in peace as a system of the early warning system at the grassroots to provide a conveyor belt for development under the new philosophy of the government of devolution, which civil society has fought so hard to get, particularly in Matabeleland, the civil society there. So that's one thing that Brian could actually get Professor Mzidziwa through the co-patrons window to get going very quickly. The thing that we really wanted him to come and do when we were talking in Livingstone, when we were in the Organ for National Healing, Reconciliation and Integration, we came up with a code of conduct for and by political parties. And the political parties with seats in parliament came together. And what really interested us, they came up with the most brilliant ideas. And that code of conduct is part of the electoral law, the act, and also the form that every candidate has to sign before they are allowed to participate in elections is a product of that exercise with political parties. So I told Brian in Livingstone that it would be good if he were to partner MSU with some other institutions to work as we did in the organ. We worked with the traditional leaders, the Zimbabwe Council of Chiefs. We worked with the Ecumenical Fellowship of Zimbabwe, Bishop Ambrose Moyo. He was the one who came with his sports for national healing. And UNDP was just brilliant. They took us around the country and we did those sports for national healing. And they had 3 days with communities to discuss their challenges and to come up with that. And so when people played sport, they really had that as a therapeutic thing. So instead of just working with the Ecumenical Fellowship of Zimbabwe, we've now seen that we need to now come and work with the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, because what's important when you do this kind of work, as we are doing in Zimbabwe, is to get the old partners abroad, like the World Council of Churches, drawn back. As you know, next year, 2020, all the churches are going to converge in Zimbabwe for the World Day of Prayer. And we have been preparing for that. So it was just important that if we got ZCC involved with this great Zimbabwe peace building initiative of the National Peace Trust, where the partners, of course, have been invited by Professor Mzidziwa to work with the MSU Law Faculty, the Zimbabwe Council of Churches, the Zimbabwe Council of Chiefs, LEDRIS, which is the research arm of the trade unions and brings brilliant data to the president in an advisory capacity, that they would be people who would really enrich this exercise. They would be doing a code of conduct with the help of Brian Spears and his Commonwealth Association, bring the expertise where the new code of conduct by civil society to harmonize relations among and between the communities we work with, the traditional leaders, other civil society organizations, the faith-based organizations there, the workers in their different capacities, that such a code of conduct would take us like 18 months to do through the advocacy department in the law school